Could a scoop of your favorite ice cream be hiding a horrifying secret? There is a terrifying rumor making the rounds online, claiming that ice cream can actually breed worms in your stomach. It's the kind of thought that can instantly ruin a perfectly good dessert. You see a grainy video or a frantic post, and the question gets stuck in your head, could that really be true? It's a deeply unsettling idea, tapping into our fears about the food we eat and what could be happening inside our bodies. The myth turns a symbol of joy and summer days into a potential horror story. But what does science have to say about all this? We are going to follow a scoop of ice cream on its trip through the human body to reveal the sweet truth and put this chilling myth on ice, for good. So, where did this bizarre idea even come from? The ice cream causes worms myth is a perfect storm of modern internet weirdness, and it's usually born from a few key misunderstandings. First, you have the power of suggestion. You've probably seen them. Grainy, low-quality videos where someone washes a melted food and reveals tiny, squirming specks they claim are worms. Most of the time, these are just hoaxes. The worms are often nothing more than vanilla bean seeds, clumped up milk proteins, or fruit fibers. In an age of easy video editing, faking something that looks convincing is surprisingly simple. Second, there is a case of mistaken identity with a real creature called the ice cream cone worm. Yes, that is its actual name. It's a tiny marine animal that builds itself a cone-shaped shell out of sand, which looks remarkably like a miniature ice cream cone. These little guys live on the ocean floor and have absolutely nothing to do with the dessert in your freezer. It's just a wild coincidence that helps fuel the myth. And finally, real science news gets twisted. For example, you might have seen headlines about scientists reviving ancient nematodes, a type of roundworm that were frozen in permafrost for millennia. While that is an amazing discovery, it has zero connection to the commercial food industry. These separate threads, hoax videos, a funny animal name, and twisted science news all weave together to create a scary, believable myth that spreads like crazy online. To really get why this myth is impossible, let us track a spoonful of ice cream as it enters one of the most hostile places imaginable. Your digestive system. The second it hits your mouth, your saliva gets to work. Enzymes like amylase immediately start breaking down the sugars. As the ice cream melts and warms to body temperature, it heads down your esophagus and into the main event, the stomach. This is where the worm myth completely falls apart. Your stomach isn't some cozy incubator, it's a powerful vat of acid. The stomach lining pumps out hydrochloric acid, an incredibly corrosive fluid that brings the pH down to between 1.5 and 3.5. That is similar to the strength of battery acid. This acid bath is your body's first line of defense, designed to destroy bacteria, viruses, and you guessed it, any potential parasites. Hardly anything can survive in there. Sure, a few super resilient parasites have evolved to withstand stomach acid, but those are highly specific organisms you get from contaminated water or seriously undercooked meat, not from pasteurized frozen dairy. The idea that a worm could just appear or hatch in this acidic inferno is pure biological fantasy. Any uninvited guest would be annihilated almost instantly. After churning in the stomach for a while, what's left of the ice cream moves into the small intestine as a creamy liquid called chyme. This is where the heavy lifting of digestion happens. A flood of new enzymes arrives on the scene. Bile from your liver breaks down the fats, while other enzymes continue dismantling the proteins. This is also where your body deals with lactose, the main sugar in milk. To handle it, you need a specific enzyme called lactase, which breaks lactase down into simpler sugars, glucose and galactose, that your body can easily absorb. But for millions of people, this is where things get uncomfortable. Lactose intolerance is simply a shortage of that lactase enzyme. Without enough of it, the lactose from the ice cream can't be broken down. Instead, it travels to the large intestine, where it becomes a feast for gut bacteria. As the bacteria ferment the sugar, they produce gas, leading to the ultra-familiar bloating, cramping, and diarrhea. So, if you are feeling bad after eating ice cream, it's almost certainly due to this common digestive issue, not imaginary worms. If you are enjoying this dose of real science, do us a favor and hit that subscribe button. We are all about busting myths and giving you the straight facts on the food you love. Okay, so we've established that ice cream absolutely does not and cannot cause worms. Myth busted. But that doesn't mean a pint of your favorite flavor is free of biological effects. Let's talk about the real science of what's going on. First, the good stuff. There is a reason ice cream feels like a hug in a bowl. That perfect blend of sugar and fat triggers your brain's reward system, releasing a rush of dopamine, the feel-good chemical. This is what creates that sense of comfort and happiness. Plus, it's a quick and easy source of energy. Some brands are even fortified with probiotics, the good bacteria that can help support a healthy gut. Now, for the not so good, all that simple sugar causes a sharp spike in your blood sugar. Your pancreas then releases insulin to help your cells absorb it, which can lead to the classic sugar rush, followed by a crash that leaves you feeling tired and sluggish. Over time, a habit of this can contribute to weight gain and increase the risk for metabolic problems like type 2 diabetes. Finally, the part that scientists are looking at right now. The real concern isn't worms. It's the tiny, unseen additives in many processed ice creams called emulsifiers. Ingredients like polysorbate 80 and carboxymaltulose are used to create a smooth texture and prevent ice crystals. However, a growing body of research suggests these synthetic additives might be messing with your gut health. Studies show they can disrupt your gut's delicate bacterial balance and damage its protective mucus layer, which could promote low-grade inflammation. So while the fear of worms is totally baseless, being mindful of ultra-processed ingredients is actually pretty smart. When it comes down to it, what happens in your body after you eat ice cream isn't a horror story, it's just fascinating biology. The rumor about ice cream breeding worms is 100% false, cooked up from internet hoaxes, a case of mistaken identity and a misunderstanding of how our bodies work. Your stomach is a formidable fortress, not a playground for parasites. The real story is about enzymes, sugars, and hormones. Eating ice cream can bring a wave of pleasure and a quick burst of energy. For some, it also brings the very real discomfort of lactose intolerance, a simple enzyme issue, not a worm invasion. And maybe the biggest lesson here is that the things to watch out for aren't phantom creatures, but the man-made additives found in many of our foods. So please, go enjoy your favorite scoop without fearing some mythical monster. The truth is far less terrifying and way more interesting. The best approach is to know what's in your food, listen to your body, and eat what makes you feel good. The sweetest reality is the one based on science, not scares. You've probably heard this before, maybe from a friend, or you saw it in a sketchy online article. Ice cream contains worms. The story usually goes that there's a creature called an ice cream worm, which is an ingredient used to make your favorite frozen treat. It's a pretty gross thought, right? It makes you wonder if that scoop of vanilla is secretly crawling with critters. I've seen this rumor pop up again and again, and today, we're going to get to the bottom of it once and for all. Is there any truth to this creepy crawly claim? Let's find out. So, let's break down the myth itself. The story claims that a specific type of worm, often called an ice cream worm, is harvested, ground up, and used as a thickener or filler in commercially produced ice cream. Some versions of this myth even say it's a cheap source of protein. They might show you pictures of some squiggly white worms and tell you that's what's in your dessert. The idea is that these worms are tasteless and blend in perfectly, so you'd never know you were eating them. This tale has been circulating for years, preying on our natural fear of bugs and our distrust of big food corporations. It's designed to shock you, to make you second-guess that tub of Rocky Road in your freezer. But before you swear off ice cream forever, let's dig a little deeper. Okay, let's talk about where this weird idea might have come from. It's a classic case of a little bit of truth getting twisted into a giant myth. The confusion likely starts with a real creature called the mealworm. Mealworms are the larval stage of the darkling beetle. And guess what? They are edible. In fact, they're raised on farms for human consumption in some parts of the world and are often used as animal feed. They're high in protein and fat. Now, here's the twist. Scientists have experimented with using mealworm fat as a potential substitute for butterfat in food production, including in things like ice cream. The idea was to find a more sustainable fat source. So, there have been studies exploring this, but this is a huge but it's just research. It's not something happening in the ice cream you buy at the store. Another source of confusion could be something called castoreum. This is a natural flavoring that comes from the glands of beavers. Yes, you heard that right. For a long time, it was used to create a vanilla-like flavor. The mental image of that is pretty strange, and people love to share shocking secret ingredient stories. However, castoreum is extremely rare and expensive to harvest today. It's almost never used in modern food production. Vanilla flavoring now comes from vanilla beans or is synthetically produced. The beaver story, just like the mealworm story, got mixed up and exaggerated over time, and somehow, we ended up with the myth of the ice cream worm. It's a game of telephone where the final message is way more disgusting than the original. So, here's the absolute truth, backed by food science and regulation. There are no worms in your ice cream, period. Commercial ice cream production in most countries, including the United States and across Europe, is governed by incredibly strict food safety standards. Agencies like the FDA in the US have what's called the Food Defect Levels Handbook. This document lists the maximum allowable levels of natural, unavoidable defects in foods, like tiny insect fragments in flour or spices. It sounds gross, but we're talking about microscopic levels that are harmless. Even with these allowances, there is absolutely no provision for intentionally adding worms to ice cream. It's not an approved ingredient. If a company were caught doing that, they would face massive fines, recalls, and would likely be shut down immediately. Let's think about it logically, too. From a business perspective, it makes zero sense. Farming worms on an industrial scale to add to ice cream would be incredibly expensive and inefficient compared to using standard, approved ingredients like milk, cream, sugar, and stabilizers like gargam or carrageenan. These are plant-based and have been used safely for decades. They are cheap, effective, and don't come with the massive yuck factor that would destroy a brand if it ever came out. The idea that companies are secretly adding worms to save money is just backwards. It would cost them more money and their entire business. So, rest assured, the main ingredients in your ice cream are exactly what you think they are: dairy, sugar, and flavorings. Now, let's talk about the name ice cream worm itself. Does such a creature even exist? Well, yes and no. There is a real organism that has been nicknamed the ice worm, but it has absolutely nothing to do with your dessert. These are tiny, blackish worms called Mesenchotreus solifugus, and they are fascinating. They live exclusively in the ice of glaciers in places like Alaska and the Pacific Northwest. They are one of the few organisms on Earth that can spend their entire lives in sub-zero temperatures. They actually melt and die if the temperature rises above freezing. So, the idea of them surviving in a food processing plant, let alone being farmed for ice cream, is completely impossible. They can't even survive in your freezer. The name is just a spooky coincidence that myth spreaders latched onto to make their stories sound more believable. So, in summary, we've busted this myth from every angle. First, the ice cream worm used in food is a complete fabrication. There's no such industry. Second, the real-life ice worms that live on glaciers have nothing to do with food and can't survive outside of their frozen habitat. Third, while research has explored using insect-based fats in food, this is not a current practice in the commercial ice cream you buy. And finally, food safety regulations are extremely strict. Any company intentionally adding a non-approved ingredient like worms would be in huge trouble. The whole story is a classic example of misinformation, a scary-sounding tale that gets passed around without any fact-checking. It combines a fear of bugs with a distrust of big corporations to create a believable, but ultimately false, narrative. So, what's the takeaway here? You can absolutely enjoy your ice cream without worrying about any hidden squirmy ingredients. The next time someone tries to freak you out with the ice cream worm story, you can confidently tell them the real facts. It's a great reminder to always be a little skeptical of shocking claims you see online, especially when it comes to food. A quick search from a reliable source can usually clear things up. The world of food science is actually pretty amazing, and it's a shame when myths like this overshadow the real innovation and hard work that goes into making the foods we love safe and delicious. So go ahead, grab a spoon, and dig into that pint of mint chocolate chip with peace of mind. There are no worms, just creamy, delicious goodness. It's important to rely on science and facts, not fear and rumors. Thanks for joining me on this myth-busting journey today. I hope you found this helpful and reassuring. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more content where we tackle popular myths and uncover the truth, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to ring the notification bell so you never miss an update. See you in the next one.